up to you.
Okay. You got all your shopping done? Me either. Me either, George. At this point, it's gonna be gift cards and stuffing it in a bag.
Need to see me between 12 and about 7 tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Intentionally, well,
It's the same as me.
I'm crazy.
Look, I went to Auburn today. Great.
My niece said that. She got out, went down the hallway, she said,
Really?
these people, they're about to run over me.
They are. They're driving crazy, acting crazy.
You gotta worry about being like school at Walmart.
I know it. Hey, that's why I'm gonna hit up the DG for gift cards. No, I mailed the check. And they were going to place the order, so. I got the code. Hey, George, let me ask you about that.
Power on. Harry.
Well, no, home is gonna have. No, sometimes when they stage it,
He said there's a warning on it, that's okay. That's your job, Judy.
This time we have 5:30 p.m. As each and every one, we'll please stand. Just want to say good evening to each and every one attendants tonight. City of Lafayette City Council meeting. Unfamiliar faces out in the audience tonight. We just want to say welcome to the city of Lafayette. I'm sure there's someone down on the agenda who'll get a chance to meet who you are and where you're from. Again, I'd like to welcome each and every one here tonight. Each and every one will please bow your head for a short prayer. Precious Heavenly Father, we come thanking you for another day's journey. This is the day you have made. We're going to be glad and rejoice in it. Father God, I pray right now that you help us to be on one accord tonight at our city council meeting. Father God, we ask you to be here with us as we conduct the welfare of the city of Lafayette. Father God, I pray right now that you bless each and every one that's on the sound of my voice, bless their families while we're departed from them. Bless this city, bless this state, and bless this country, oh Heavenly Father. And Father God, we won't fail to give you all the thanks in the praise. The word of praise. In Christ's name, amen, and praise God. This time we ask our clerk, please, for our roll call.
Councilwoman Milford.
Present.
Councilman Langley. Councilman Thomas.
Here.
Councilwoman Story.
Here.
Councilwoman Williams. Mayor Ryan.
Here. Reading of the minutes, these from the 8th, 2025, from our regular city council meeting.
I make a motion to approve the reading of the minutes, December 8th, 25.
It's been properly motion seconded approval of reading of the minutes, December 8th, 2025, from our regular city council meeting. Any discussion, motion? If not, all in favor by saying aye. Any opposed? Motion approved. Revisit the exchange after school program request.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we table this until we can get some further information on the times and that type of stuff.
I second the motion.
Been proper motion seconded, table, and to the exchange after school program to get, more information on this program. Any discussion?
Yes.
I would like to ask who's gonna provide that, who would get that information from?
It's already been provided.
It's not in our package, though. I didn't, we have a chance.
No,
to-
we discussed it, it was discussed in October's meeting. So it was a work session done, and so today, I just come today to see if we could approve it. Because it was for Tuesdays and Thursdays of 3:00, 3:30 until 7:00.
I don't feel comfortable voting on anything that I haven't had a chance to read over. So I ask you to review anything like this.
No, it was in October meeting. We were not here yet, but you guys were here. And it was, like I said, it was tabled, work session went before, and it was discussion made, and now we're here today to see if we could approve it.
I know I haven't seen the information yet either, because it was brought up in October, so I have no objection to, I would like to see the information to know what I'm voting on, but I just wanna make sure whoever needs to get that done, that like, we don't need to let this get forgotten about again, so can we, whoever has the information, or whoever is responsible for the information, can we make sure it gets put in our
I'll make sure.
January packet, so we can make a decision then?
Let me make a comment if you don't mind. Also, as well, if I remember right, the request was gonna be also to use some, city facilities. So we need to make sure that we give sufficient information to be able to have the findings of fact that this organization does do something in line with the public. I had the word in my mind to you, still want you talking. Anyway, when I saw this, I wanted to make sure that it was addressed, for public purposes. And then we gotta make sure that we do have a specific finding of fact for that. That's what I recall from the October meeting, was that we did have, a discussion about it, but there was some question about the facilities being used and whether or not that was proper in the city's behalf. So I think we need to make sure we have some specific finding of fact and a public purpose to allow them to use public facilities at a reduced or no rate.
With after-school program, like learning with that, fall into that category?
Yes, Mr. Tom. But you got to lay it out in the,
Request.
well, actually in the resolution where you agreed to do it.
Back as my understanding as well, do we pinpoint which location? At first it was supposed to be at the community house down in K, and then it came back, they did a presentation for the community action building, so I think we need to pinpoint which building we're gonna allow them to use.
You have more memory than I do.
If you need the action.
Which is probably a better place.
Yeah.
So do we have a work session?
No, I don't think we need a work session.
I just think whoever
I will.
All right. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, tabling this, request? I'm saying aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion approved. We'll take it. Okay, discussion regarding the ability to hire either a full-time or part-time restoration director?
Yes, so I gave each of you what I'm about to read out now. I am writing to express the importance and value of hiring a part-time Parks and Recreation Director for our city. Currently, our Parks and Recreation program operates on a volunteer basis. All volunteers has done an exceptional job for more than 15 years without any financial compensation from the city of Lafayette. Their dedication has been instrumental in sustaining programs and activity that benefits our community. Parks and Recreation serve as a foundation for keeping our youth active, providing positive outlets for our young adults, and creating meaningful opportunities for our senior citizens to stay engaged and connected. For a growing and thriving city like Lafayette, having a Parks and Recreation Director is essential. The role will provide structural coordination and hands-on support across our Parks Recreation program, community spaces, while remaining flexible and cost-conscious. A part-time Parks and Rec Director will operate under the direction of the mayor and city council, with duties established and adjusted as needed. This flexibility ensures the position can evolve alongside the needs of our community rather than being restricted to a limited scope. The responsibility of this role could include, but are not limited to, assisting with the maintaining and upkeep of parks, athletic fields, and facilities under Parks and Recreation, helping maintain buildings and equipment associated with Parks and Recreation program, providing support to the senior citizen when assistance is needed, attending all district Parks and Recreation meetings and serving as a consistent point of contact, building and strengthening relationship with neighboring cities to support and share events, programs, and resources, assisting with game day preparation, field setup, and coordination for youth and community sports, overseeing the care, inventory, and maintenance of the recreation equipment, supporting and coordinating recreation activity for youth, young adults, and senior citizens. The position will ideally be filled by someone with working knowledge of various sports, community program, and ability to engage residents of all ages from youth leagues to senior activities. Having a dedicated point person promotes a stronger planning, improved communication, and increased community engagement. A part-time Parks and Recreation Director will support existing staff and volunteers, help protect the city asset, improve the quality of our recreational space, and enhance the overall experience for residents. Most importantly, this role allows the city to be proactive rather than reactive in managing parks program and community events. Thank you for your continued leadership and consideration of this opportunity. I believe this role will be a positive step forward in strengthening our Parks and Recreation system and supporting the needs of our community.
Councilwoman Story, the city of Lafayette does give financial assistance to the rec department.
Not the, I'm talking about the person that's mandating.
Oh, no, we don't pay nobody to do no services, but we do provide financial assistance to the rec department.
That's correct. So what I'm asking for is a person that will be the point of contact for our Parks and Recreation. Right now, we do, like I said, it's on volunteer basis, and those people's lives are, they're shifting, so they won't really dedicate that time that they have to dedicate to Parks and Rec. So we need someone that's on our payroll that will be able to assist wherever we need them to assist at when it comes to Park and Recreation.
Okay, I got a question. Last time we was at the meeting, we was over at the work section, December 16th. News media was there, Mayor, a few other councilmen were there. You stated we only had $20 in the account, is correct?
Sir, can we refrain from talking about the financials right now? Because I don't have the information in front of me to be able to speak on this right now.
Well, basically, when we left, I left $5,762.65 in the account in 2021. I think before we even consider hiring a Park and Rec director, I request that we get a financial statement from the year 2020 to 2025, because the parents, the citizens, and the council members deserve to know how this money is spent. And until we do that, I don't think we need to hire a director. Don't make no sense to have $20 in the account, taking up registration fees for all different events. You're taking up concession money. So where's the money going? That's what I want.
I believe some of that was stated in that work session that you're talking about.
I need to see some documentation.
I don't disagree with you, I think a financial statement would be a good idea, but I do think some of those may have been addressed.
Well, that's fine, Councilwoman, but like I said, I want to see some financial documents.
Mayor, I
And
would
I
like
thank
to
the
make,
council and the citizens and the parents there.
Mayor, I would like to make a motion to approve the creation of a Parks and Recreation position, contingent upon budget approval, with scopes to be determined by the mayor.
It's in the form of motion, so you have to say.
Am I allowed to make a comment right now?
Dying for like a second. Now you can, in a sense, unless you want to wait till your comment time. We have
It was on this matter, I was just gonna say that I think a position like this ultimately is necessary, for our Parks and Rec department to continue to grow and thrive like it has been the last, I feel like the last 12 months or so, I've seen a drastic increase in Parks and Rec. And, you know, if you're not gonna put back into your youth, what are you gonna put back into? So, I think it's ultimately necessary, I just would like to see a little bit more information as far as, you know, maybe what comparable cities pay a Parks and Rec director, what a salary estimate might look like, so we can factor that in to budget discussions. And once we get that information, potentially revisit the discussion.
But let me ask you another question now. We're supposed to have a board of directors, which consists of chairman, assistant chairman, secretary, treasurer, and assistant. Has all that been set up yet, in different boards, committees?
I'm unaware.
Have all that been set up yet?
Yes.
How could it be set up when the council would have to appoint someone from that district?
From our work session on Monday, it was determined that we already have people in place, we just need to revisit those.
But I would have went to my district, because the person that I had in my district don't know either. Do you have someone in the district?
Yeah, I do, the same person that I appointed,
Okay, they still have.
yeah, she's there.
I think that may play into our discussion about the committees needing to be revisited and updated and looked at in general, that we just received in our packet, the finalized updated list from Clerk Davidson. So later on in the discussion, I was gonna make some comments about how to handle that going forward with the overall committee oversight, and that may resolve some of those.
Still, let the record indicate that I need a financial report.
Yeah, that's one of the things I would like to see, recreation director, at this particular time, though, we have got to factor that into our budget. There again, you know, we can't express it enough, and can't state it enough. Councilman Langley, he probably gonna, you know, help me out on this. When you look at our financial situation, where is it gonna be funded from? And we have got to take care of our employees, and there again, that's part of, if we're gonna hire, whether it's full-time or part-time, that is a financial thing. That's only, that's my, you know, that's the only concern I have about it right now. We have got to factor that into our budget, because if we just say, yeah, we gonna hire one at $50,000, $55,000, 60, 65, that's 65, 60,000, 50, 55, where is it gonna come from right now? You know, so that, I'm not saying we, you know, we don't need one, which we do, but there again, we're talking about the financial side of things I'm concerned about, until we get this budget approved, not looked at, but approved. We gotta get that budget approved.
And I just like to say that for, I know for 3 city council terms, it has been brought to this city to hire a Parks and Rec director. And it was always would like to not have this, one of these things where it's never gonna get approved. Cause if we keep sitting on it, what's gonna end up happening is that we're gonna start losing our kids to our adjoining city to play Parks and Rec, well, to play football, basketball, softball, whatever sports that we're offering, because we won't have anyone in our city to support our Parks and Rec. Cause right now, people are doing it out of the kindness of their heart, because they have a love for kids. But at some point, people will get kind of frustrated that other cities are paying someone to manage their Parks and Rec, while our city continue to say it's a budget issue.
Councilwoman Story, no disrespect, but I ran the program for 8 years, and don't think this is the first time that we brought up trying to get a park and recreation director. It's not simple, you gotta have money when you start talking, you gotta have money, you know, it's not something that can happen overnight. We have been trying to do that, so I ran the program with what I had, and I think I've done pretty damn good, you know, not bragging, so, you know. Sometimes you gotta do what you got, until you can do better.
And if you look at the budget that clerk gave us Monday, it's self-explanatory.
Again, for the past 3 council terms, it has always been about budget. So,
That's how y'all work.
I understand that, sir. I understand that completely. But I would like for us to, once you get the finance report that you are requesting, I would like for us to consider it in our budget, if we are able to add a part-time Parks and Rec director.
Not just the financial, but I'm requesting how this money been spent as well. As everything indicated in the financial report. Receipts, that's money, things that been spent on.
Sir, I only controlled it for a year, which was last year, so I can only provide you with what I have.
For you.
I only did it for, I only got appointed to be the finance person on Parks and Rec was last year.
Okay,
So I can
we'll
provide
make it a
you
little
with-
easier for you. Let's say January last year to December this year. You ain't got to go back there, but just provide it with how the money is spent for the year, for 1 year, 12 months. You ain't got to go back over.
Who's over the account? Is that something the city has access to?
No, they do not. The city said the city is not affiliated with the Parks and Rec account. It's on a volunteer basis, people.
But I think that parents, the citizens, and the community council need to know how this money been spent. How it's been spent.
That's understandable. And we can provide that information to you.
Look forward to seeing it. Thank you.
Let's go to sidewalk discussion.
Good evening. Tonight, I'm here to, bring everybody up to speed on our sidewalks. First Avenue Southeast and First Street Northeast. We went out and did some surveying on our sidewalks, and they was in really bad shape, really bad shape. To the degree where it just about was not good to walk on. So, I think about 3 weeks ago, me and the mayor went and looked at them, along with Councilman Lane as well. We decided it was easy to take them up and rope them off, instead of leaving the house out there. Now, last year, I had a part of it in my budget to repair most of these sidewalks. We did do some repairs last year, and the budget kind of ran out before we could get to these. Last year, we did some on MLK Drive, we did some on Avenue Alabama East, we did some on Alabama Avenue West, and we did some on First Avenue Southeast. Some of them we did last year were due to a storm blowing over, putting the whole sidewalk up, we had to put those back. Some of them we did the high school, we had to put those back. Some of them is done due to utility repairs, where the water department might cut across it. So all these types of scenarios creates a safe area. The one we took up about 2 or 3 weeks ago, most of those is due to tree roots growing up under the sidewalk, probably ran through some of them. If you look at your package, I did provide some pictures, along with what the problem was before and after. During the discussion of this of the bids, it was gonna cost quite a bit. The contractor, take it up and dispose of it. It was a little bit cheaper for us to take the sidewalks up ourselves and try to request a bid for just labor and material for that.
So these quotes that we have, they reflect the updated proposal as far as just laying the new sidewalk. You've already eliminated the cost of removal.
You're right, already eliminated the cost of disposal. It was just, that cost is material and labor, foreman and labor. And I think it totaled up to about 450 feet, somewhere in that neighborhood. The really going rate to put sidewalks back, that without doing any demolition or anything, is about $25 a foot. And I think this equipment is about $24 a foot.
I make a motion that we allow Mr. Green to do the sidewalk project.
Second. It's been properly motion, second, come from our superintendent, Mr. Green, sidewalk project, sidewalk discussion. Any discussion? Not all in favor by saying aye. Opposed? Motion approved.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we, table number 7.
Second.
Okay, let me, read it out.
Okay.
So water line replacement, civil design service proposal, Harmon Engineering.
Okay, properly motion is second.
All right, been proper motion and second that we will table this, table to get some more information. Okay, we'll take us to get some more information in reference to this, water line replacement. Any more discussion?
No one, is there nobody here to give us information on that?
I thought we had the work session.
Well,
But we
As
didn't vote.
far as somebody being in attendance tonight, Austin Harmon was supposed to attend, but he reached out to me about, let me see, 4:57, and said, I'm hung up in Opelika, I will try to make it, but he said if we need him, someone could call him.
Does it matter whether someone is here tonight? We are voting. That person don't have a vote in this.
Well, if we're voting, then what's the need for tabling the discussion?
We're
Well-
voting to table it. That's what,
and another thing.
that's my motion. You always have discussion.
Another thing that was said in the work session was we gonna phase it in phase 1 and phase 2, but I didn't see any information in the package, and he said also that it was gonna be after January before they got back with us, and here we are, Monday, here it is, I mean, I thought we were gonna have another meeting with him before we could make a concrete, solid decision on what we do.
And they were supposed to, our clerk was supposed to reach out to other grant writers.
Have you done that, Boo?
I mean, no more than the ones I told you I had already talked to.
Right.
And they were,
Dr. Smith. And then, so you know, currently, we've had a conversation about we don't have a grant writer, so we do not have a consultant that specifically writes grants, but we are currently using East Alabama Regional Planning Commission for various grants, so we have been in discussions with them. The issue is with the community development block grant, we already have an application out, you know, so depending on what the project is, you can only have one at a time. So with regard to CDBG, we've kind of already locked in with the application that we put in to replace the water lines down MLK and over by Lafayette High School.
And also, we did not, they automatically put their own, who they wanted to write grants.
No.
They put who they wanted in this, application process for the grant writing. think everybody should have an opportunity. We got Jeff Monroe right there in Five Points. He deserves an opportunity. It's not right for Herman to decide who we get to write this grant.
I just wanted to say, at the very first meeting, when they came and spoke with us, the mayor asked them to go out and find us a grant writer. The mayor asked them to do it, so they went out and found someone that would work with them. So I'm guessing that's where the misunderstanding is coming from, because we told them to go find someone.
I ain't told them that. The mayor may have told them, but not we.
Well, the mayor told them to go out and find someone to help us by writing the grant, and they found someone. And so that person is gonna be under them versus the city of Lafayette. So they'll be working with Harmon, and Harmon's gonna pay them, not, we wanna pay Harmon, they're gonna pay them, so.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we've all at least had an opportunity, whether it's same time, varying times, to meet with Norman Engine about this topic. I know the mayor instigated some of the meetings a couple months back, maybe some of the council members prior to us even met with them, and then I know they reached out and let us have an opportunity to view the water plans. So I don't see what tabling a discussion is gonna, the longer we wait on making a decision on this project, the more we risk running into a timeline of having issues. So if we don't need a person here to provide us with any more information, and it's all about discussion between us, then I don't see why tabling that is gonna make a difference. That's just my opinion.
I agree with you. I think we're wasting time. We're kind of out of it, Harmon's kind of dealing with this, and the more time we play around with this, the harder it's gonna be to get this done. We're talking about being, when's our next meeting, Carter?
January 12th.
That's 2 to 3 years down the road, that could be detrimental to some grants or work process or anything.
What we're processing, go on.
Okay, it's motion, and second. Done with the phase of discussion. So all in favor for table, known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
No.
Not working.
Well, I
Yeah.
heard 3 and 2.
I'm gonna say no to.
Okay, so it's tied. So the motion failed for lack of majority. Okay.
So what we did, we circle back to this January 14th, or we just let that?
Well, I mean, the motion was to table, it wasn't actually to accept the proposal. So at this point, if anybody wants to make a motion to accept the proposal, you can do that, but the groundwork has already been laid.
My opinion is, there are tons of grants out there and tons of grant writers out there, and we have several different needs within the city for grants. We need Parks and Rec grants, we need historic grants, we need sidewalk grants, we need pavement grants. I mean, if we are aware of other grant writers out there,
Langley,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
No.
Councilwoman Story,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
No,
Mayor Ryan.
No. Okay, Board of Officers pay the CWSRF supplemental loan application for wastewater improvement. That's your money.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you recall at the previous council meeting, we actually tabled the discussion around the CWSRF loan application because it has some typos. So now we have a completed application. One thing that I would like to do is, just briefly go over the project, because I know there are some new council members maybe not familiar with the original project. So, a few years back, there was some funding that became available from ABM to actually do some work at our water plant and our wastewater plant. One of the requirements was that we actually had to raise rates, because our rates were some of the lowest in the surrounding area, and from what they saw, the lowest in the state. So, we actually had a $2.25 million project and another $750,000 project that would not be approved if we did not raise our rates, so we agreed to do that. So by raising the rates, what happened was that it made those two projects turn into forgivable loans. So it was actually loan money, but if we raised our rates and we applied, for this exemption, then that means that those loans now become forgivable, so it's the equivalent of a 100% grant. So when we bidded out the waste plant part of the project, it came in way over. And at the time, because we were still tied into that, basically, I know Mac will hate this, tied into that free money, we didn't want to just not pay the difference because the bids came over. So at the time, the council agreed to still approve the project after it had been scaled down, and I think the additional amount was like 300 and something thousand. So the engineer that we're working with, just recently said, hey, there's a low interest loan through this same program that's available, and recommended that we go ahead and instead of trying to pay that money out of our own account or going to another source to actually get a loan, to just get the loan for that remaining balance from the SRF program at a rate of 2.75%. So if you look at the information, it's a loan application for $300,000 to pay that extra amount from this project for 2.75% over, I think it's a 20-year period. So with all that said, just asking you all to approve that we submit that application.
I make a motion that we submit the application.
second.
The proper motion is seconded to submit this application here for my clerk. This loan information. Any discussion? Not clerk, ask for roll call.
Councilwoman Milford,
Yes.
Councilman Langley,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Story,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes,
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
In the description, I actually didn't say it, the description of the project is on page 1 of this sheet that has preliminary engineering report.
Thank you, clerk. Here's the petition, application.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things. First off, I know this is our last meeting before the new year, so Merry Christmas to everybody. And then
said that she had noticed some confusion over verbal agreement regarding cemetery plots. And she said that she believed moving forward, concrete written agreement would reduce said confusion. Basically, it's all verbal, and since it's all verbal for so many years, there's been some confusion, she said. Nothing never been verbal. We always have had policies and procedures pertaining to how we handle cemetery business, and news like that don't need to get out without being corrected, so did make that correction in the paper. And if you don't mind, Superintendent Green, would you come to the podium and explain, if you do that operation day to day, from point A all the way to the last point, how we work?
Good evening again. As superintendent of cemeteries, I think I can provide that information with you pretty good. But from time to time, we get a call to get rid of the southern cemetery plot, or either somebody already have a prepaid cemetery plot. We still meet everybody out in the cemetery to let those people pick out A, B, C, D spots. But it's never just that we don't ever go out to the cemetery to verify what's going to be. So from that, if they don't have a lot and we have to sell them, what we normally do, we will go out, showcase what we have, you know, kind of let people pick out which section they want to be in, whatever provided. But for when we do that, we go out and we mark the spot, and then we go back and we start our process of a cemetery deed owner. This is the first step of it. From this, it tells you what section, what lot number, and all that stuff is kind of generated. Then the other sheet is the sheet that up front, they kind of get all the person who's purchasing the lot, cemetery information, what the deed to be mailed to, even if it's gonna be, the same process, either they transferring a lot, purchasing a lot, or replacing the deed. And once we do that, we go back and we file it, record it. Now we have the ability to have everything on hard drive, so we got this information at our fingertips. So once all that take place and the cemetery deed is generated, they will get this deed right here. This is what a blank cemetery deed is. And it tells who it goes to, who will be mailed to, and then that's when on every other 2 weeks, we kind of convey deeds. That's what you're doing when you're conveying the deed. But the process started, the person coming out, we taking the information, we update our maps, and we go through the process, the actual process. So that's how it works, from start to finish. Even if they transfer the deeds, we go back and do the same thing, simply because if they transferred it to another person's name, we have to issue a new deed. That's why sometimes we do a replacement deed. And from that replacement deed, we also change it on our mapping system as well. So it's a pretty long process.
Thank you, Superintendent Green. Mayor, I just wanted to get that information out there so the people would know that we just don't do nothing to black and white. We have a process. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yes. First, I would like to say to Chief Trice, thank you so much, for your team working to get the, behind the Chinese restaurant cleaned up. Thank you so much for your team. That was amazing. It is a nice sight to look over and see that that has been cleaned up. Secondly, I would like to say, happy holidays to everyone. And thirdly, I would like to say, I did misspeak on the cemetery, and I did go to George and his team and apologize for me misspeaking about the cemetery. Lafayette Son, Valentine, thank y'all so much for reporting out each time we have a city council meeting. Thank you so much for reporting that. I am new to this, and it is a learning process for me. I can be a bigger person and apologize for my mistakes. So today, I am apologizing for misspeaking in the newspaper article, but I would have liked for you, Councilman Thomas, to have came to me and kind of gave me the heads up that you were going to address this in tonight's meeting, and I would have had the opportunity to advise you that I did speak with George Green and his team, and I was going today apologize for me misspeaking, when I misspoke. citizen. So if you guys can kind of give us a, brief description of, what happened in Salt Lake City, so we can.
And also, I'm not picking up what you just said.
I
I don't
see
have a
that.
problem
I
with that, but I'm talking to my people, my district that came to me with a problem. I have their,
I do apologize to everyone. Like I said, this is a learning process for me. I was voted in to the City of Lafayette Council meeting to assist the people. And when someone came to me about the concern, I did discuss it in work session. I did not go to George and his team first. I learned from that mistake. I will not make that mistake a second time. But just so everyone else knows that I am working for the people. And if you have any issue with me personally, I do advise you to come speak to me personally and not in front of everyone. Because we could have addressed this a different way.
we should put false information out there too. But I know what we're talking about.
Sir,
It's confusing a lot of
sir,
people, and I
sir.
just want to clarify to the citizens of Lafayette how the process.
I do understand, I do understand it.
It's not personal issue, it's just that when we put information out there, make sure the information is correct. That's all.
And what I was about to say was that it was on my list today when Mayor came to me to apologize for my action. Had you spoke with me earlier for this meeting, I could advise you of that, and we could have had a conversation. But this, end of discussion, let's not discuss no more. We have the public, let's not discuss. Thank you, Mayor.
Council,
Me, oh, you do, okay. I do. I asked the clerk to provide us with ordinance number 98. And I think the attorney had something he couldn't get, but it's on the fireworks. The clerk said he thinks it's 98. 98. It's on, fireworks. At the present time, the city of Lafayette have an ordinance that you can't pop fireworks within the city limits. So I want to get that ordinance changed so that people can pop fireworks at Christmas, New Year's, and whatever time they normally pop fireworks, until 11 p.m. Everybody else is doing it, all the other municipalities, all the other cities are doing it, and they're doing it in Lafayette. It's not legal, but they're doing it. And I don't see a reason why our children, our adults, or whatever, should not be able to pop fireworks, legally. Because they're popping them already. And I would like to see that change to allow them to pop fireworks, until 11 p.m. And then maybe the city attorney can change that when he get the time to change it.
Yeah, it'd have to be in form of order, because it is an ordinance.
Yeah, informal ordinance, yeah. I think it's 98, clerk said he thinks it's 98. And I would like to put that in form of a motion.
Second motion, put that I keep it everyone out, pop fireworks within the city limits of Lafayette.
Until 11.
Until 11 o'clock p.m.
Good, it's been proper motion, second, if we, look at ordinance number 98, also give city attorney to look over as well, that we allow our citizens on holiday, whether it's Christmas, New Year, 4th of July, the opportunity to, shoot and display fireworks, to 11 p.m. Any discussion?
So is this just a motion to provide review of the ordinance, like if you'll get us an ordinance before the next meeting, and we?
This is a motion to change the ordinance.
Yeah, but right now it's saying that they can't, shoot fireworks.
Would be not necessarily safeguards in there, maybe fire chief or somebody can override that ordinance if we got drought or some conditions might not be a good idea to shoot no fireworks now.
I'd like to see a copy of the.
I think if we got I don't think nobody's gonna get out there in the rain, shoot fireworks.
So you'd be surprised.
and they're already shooting, so.
I agree with that, I just know that people do things, when you take the governors off, they do things, you know, participate in doing it.
Yeah.
It's dry, you know,
Yeah.
it could be a little problem.
I thought I heard Councilman Thomas say that this was to, for us to draft an amendment to the ordinance, but did you get the motion to actually change it?
I made the motion.
Yeah.
Councilman Thomas
Because that's-
second.
I mean, he was speaking, so I wasn't sure exactly what he said.
So I think Councilwoman Williams did make a motion to change the ordinance.
I did.
However, I want to mention one thing. If we're changing the ordinance, before we're even allowed to change the ordinance, we have to have unanimous consent to suspend the rules for immediate consideration.
Okay, I'll make that motion.
Proper motion, second, that we, amend or consider, change the ordinance number 98 in discussion.
I'm not opposed to it, but I just want, I would like to say that I think we should review maybe how other municipalities have theirs worded, and I would like to see a proposed ordinance revision before we vote on it. I think that's the smart thing to do, to make sure we're doing it properly, and to make sure everything's in there how we want it to. I'm not against.
That's not the motion that's on the floor.
I know, but he said there was discussion, right?
Actually, it was a motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration. That's a current discussion, I believe.
So at this time, with this motion, second to suspend the rules.
Yeah, for immediate consideration.
No discussion, we'll ask clerk to roll.
And Councilwoman Miller,
I'm gonna say no.
Councilman Langdon,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Stewart,
No.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
Now, I would like to,
To suspend the rules, it has to be unanimous consent.
Yeah,
So
it does.
being
Okay.
that it was not unanimous, then
okay, that's fine. Okay, so my next thing is, I wanna put this out here for everybody. First, Chief Trice, when you come to the post, there's two things that I need to make clear. And Chief Trice can help me with that.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good
Get
evening.
it.
First of all, I want to know, when have myself and Councilman Thomas came to you and told you to fire an officer at the Lafayette Police Department?
At no time, neither Councilman Thomas nor Councilman Williams came to me and told me to fire an employee.
When have I told you to stop writing tickets?
You have never told me at no point to stop writing tickets.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Now, I wanna make this clear. This is my last time talking about it, and if you got any questions, you can come to me personally. I have never told Chief Trice to stop writing tickets. I've never told any other officer to stop writing tickets. What I did say is that we don't need to write unnecessary tickets. There's no need to write a person a ticket because their tag light is out and they don't even know the tag light is out. How many of you go back there and look at your tag light when you get in your vehicle to see if it's out? The city of Lafayette, all of you know, these citizens are barely making it. The economy is in bad shape. There is no need for somebody to have to pay $150 for a tag light being out on their vehicle, and they don't even know. Now, this is my last time speaking on it. If you wanna talk to me, you can come to me and talk to me. But I have never told Chief Trice to stop writing tickets, and I have never asked him to fire anybody at the Lafayette Police Department, nor has me and Councilman Thomas been up there and asked him to do that. So, if you wanna holler at me, you can do it. But I'm not gonna discuss it with anybody else off of hearsay. Thank you, Chief Trice. The second thing I would like to do is, ask that we look at this budget. If you look at it, you see, there's a reason why we can't do a lot of things. We really need to give our employees a raise. We really, really need to give them a raise. And as far as finances, that's gonna be the only thing I vote on for. As towards money. Our people are barely making it. Some departments, especially our street department, you know, the police department, the fire department, they doing okay. But the street department, the one that's really getting out there and doing it, making things happen, they're underpaid. And we can't right the wrong overnight, I know that, but we can give them a little bit of help, a little bit of relief, if we can find it in this budget to do so. And after that, I would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, because I won't see you, hopefully until then. Happy holidays to you. That's it, Mayor.
Mayor, can I ask you to try something? Chief, would you mind coming back up here? In October, can you tell me how many speed tickets you wrote?
I don't know right off the top of my head, Councilman, if you got the part that you sent for the
What about in
Councilman.
November?
November, we average probably around anywhere from 10 to 15 tickets a month. That's the first average.
If I read your report right, I think in October it was one, in November it was zero. And I agree with council, when we read it, I don't want it to become a speed trap, nor do I want to write unnecessary tickets. But that's Auburn football season,
Yes.
and I live on 431, better known as the Indy 500. And regardless of this conversation tonight, some of that traffic needs to slow down.
Gotcha. And make sure on November, I know we got a couple DUIs in November, so
I look
just
hard.
make sure
I look
that we
hard.
look at the numbers.
But I would appreciate that if you
We do.
look at that.
Okay.
You know, I can step out my front door at any given time and I hear them waking them car motors up, and they're not going 45. Okay.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes, sir. All right.
Mayor, I didn't have one thing. Maybe someone can tell me, but when was the last time a raise was given to the city employees?
Off the top of my head, I can't remember, I could say 82 years ago. Chief,
I thought so too.
Yeah, pretty close to 2 years.
It's been more than 2 years.
There were some partials to the promotion.
wasn't last year, I think it was 23. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was 23.
It was 23, I think.
So I do wanna point out this, that, so I'm new to city council, and if raises was given out 2 years or 3 or 4, not sure timeline, but it was voted on by some of the members of this city council and some of the members of the last city council to increase mayor and council pay, but not, if you guys would've kept your pay, then that money probably would've helped us in the budget giving raises to the employees.
Everybody didn't vote yes.
I understand that, but that was the comment that I would like to make.
Only thing I want to say, wish each and every one Merry Christmas. Okay, audit of account.
Now, claims amount of $733,528.66. $380,218.89 of that is actually a drawdown that we had for the project that I talked about earlier. So, that's gonna be in the audit accounts, but that's not actually, city funds. It came, that entire amount came straight from the government.
Make a motion to pay our bill.
Proper motion second, coming from my clerk, the audit of accounts, the amount of $733,528.86.
nobody even knows how long it's been since the city employees got a raise. So that's problematic in itself. I heard 2 years, now I've heard 3 years, so I don't think anybody really knows. So it needs to be taken care of. I'm all for audits. I think the city manager's a financial person, if I'm not mistaken, is that correct? Don't you have a degree in finance? Bookkeeping or something? Okay, I'm all for audits of any department, and it should be done on a regular basis. It shouldn't be brought up after 4 or 5 years. It ought to be done on an annual basis. With that said, we have some things that are going on in the city that I don't know if it's even possible to audit. When you close down streets and you put up barricades and you put out porta potties and trash cans and people, you know, city employees doing work other than what they normally do, it's hard. I would think it would be hard to keep up with those costs. Cemeteries, do we have surveys for the cemeteries or not? That's just an observation. I want to thank our councilman Story for taking care of the situation behind the Chinese restaurant adjacent to Jack's, and also a derelict vehicle in her district. I'm glad to hear that we probably will have the Pledge of Allegiance restored at some point in time in the near future. All the ordinances in the city of Lafayette that either are not enforced or cannot be enforced need to be looked at. People were gonna shoot fireworks off, New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, whether the ordinance existed or not, because it's not enforced. I don't know how you would enforce it. So I suggest you go back and look at all your ordinances that either are not being enforced or cannot be enforced or are illegal, and clean them up, because there's more than ordinance 98 on your books. It's not being enforced. The police department can write warning tickets for safety violations or speeding, and if the person continues to act irresponsibly, then they can be given a ticket. So you don't always have to write one that punishes someone financially. If they've got a tag light out or a tail light out or they're speeding, they can be warned. And then I think those warnings go on record, so the next time they're stopped for the same behavior, that they can be given a ticket that will get in their pocketbook. And that's usually the only way to change people's behavior. I think we should have a monthly report from the chief of police on how many tickets were written. That would give us an idea of if we're enforcing our traffic laws. I want to thank Ms. Milford and Ms. Story. I think you all are doing a fantastic job. I'm glad that y'all got elected. And I've never seen so much discussion I've been here 42 years, and I've never seen so much discussion go on in the council meeting. It's a great thing, and I look forward to more of it. And please use your microphones. Thank you.
Resolution, ordinance, order, A, resolution number 2025-12-2201 for Lord bid sanitation service. Well, I have to get up.
proposals for new contract for, waste removal services for garbage. There were, as I understand it, there were 4 bids and they were tabulated, they were opened on Thursday at 11 o'clock, and that there were, 4 bids provided. Waste Management provided a bid of $15. That was the primary term. There was a list of terms in the proposed request for bid, but the primary term, of course, was price. Waste Management was $15 per customer. Amwaste was $19.44. Meridian Waste was $15.41, and 121 Disposal was $18.87, with additional charges for additional carts and for bulk pickup. It appeared from Waste Management had the low bid. The review of their bid showed that they had some exceptions and some requirements included in their, with their bid. They were labeled exception in their bid documents. And one of those exceptions was Waste Management requires the right to increase rates annually based on an average monthly increase during the applicable 12-month period of the Consumer Price Index for water, sewer, and trash. This methodology will be used annually and during the initial and any renewal terms. The following is a representation, and they give an example of essentially using the 12-month balance for 2020 and 2021. They took a 12-month balance for those 2 periods and then took the difference and came up with essentially a 3.6% adjustment yearly for that example. So in this particular instance, if you use just a 3% annual increase on the Waste Management contract, well, that comes out to $15.43, which is a little bit more than $15.41, and that's making an assumption. So the bids are not really comparable at this point. That may or may not be an average or the low bid, depends on the CPI adjustment. It's a little different than a pure CPI, but it's a CPI adjustment. So at this point, I don't see where we can consider Waste Management's bid a responsive bid. I think the low bid is gonna be Meridian Waste based on the caveats included in the Waste Management bid. There are some, if you look at the actual statute, when purchases are required to be made through competitive bidding, awards shall be made to the lowest responsible bidder, taking into consideration, and one of them is their conformity with specifications. So, not real sure, because we have that unknown out there with Waste Management, that is a responsible bid. It should be considered the low bid. And from my point of view, I would think the lowest responsible bid would be Meridian Waste at $15.41.
Where are they from?
According to their prospectus, they're all over the southeastern region, with about 6 or 7 locations being served in Alabama, one of which I think is Lee County.
Okay.
And I don't know if they got a representative here that can speak to that better than I can.
Okay.
I'm talking about Meridian.
So,
If,
Should I address it?
that's up to the mayor.
so Waste Management was the lowest bidder?
Yes, Waste Management was the lowest bidder, but they had a caveat or exception in their bid documents that said they have the right to raise the bid every year.
Okay,
And these were sealed bids, so they're fixed at this point. They can't change. That would be an unfair advantage to the other bidders.
right.
Now, we couldn't throw them all out and rebid it, but we got a hard deadline coming up, I think, the 1st of March. February 28th.
Matt, you said that, well, let me ask this. Waste Management here? Okay. I wanna make sure I'm not in violation, especially since he said it may have to be rebid. Would it be okay for him to speak? Because when you say it may have to be rebid, and that's a disadvantage for anyone else that's.
I mean, the chair has the right to ask for additional input on what I just, the fact I just read out.
Okay, so we'll be okay. Okay.
Do we have anybody else here from any other companies?
I don't know which one.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. My name's Mike Mitchell, I'm with the WM Waste Management. The attorney, you're making an assumption on the CPI. There's the 3%, we have no idea knowing what the percentage will be. It may be 0. So we really don't know a year from now what it will be. However, in your bid specifications, it does allow for an increase. It says companies shall be entitled to an increase in rates for various reasons. I'm gonna read the whole thing to you. It's in section 11, the last paragraph. Okay? But as you go through this, there's no calculation in it. Therefore, it leads to where if you have an opening for creative accounting to have an increase. And what we're proposing is a calculation that's a formal process that's done by our government, done by the Department of Labor and Bureau of Labor Statistics. Sorry. So, as I said, we don't know it's gonna be 3%. We don't know if it's gonna be anything. So, waiting our number on a year from now, what it may be, it's not fair to us. We are the lowest bid. That's all there is to it. But as I said, it already allows in your bid specifications for an increase. But it's very broad and there's no calculation in it. So you can just figure up be creative about it and show you how it costs to increase things. And this way, there's a formal process in place. And there's a third party, Department of Labor. Do I have any questions or anything?
I have a question, I don't know if it's for you, it may be a calculation question on the attorney's end. But, so you're saying that the first year would be at the $15 rate, is that correct?
Correct, well,
Okay, and then from there, each year it would be evaluated to go up potentially.
yeah, correct.
Okay, so if you look at that on an average over 3 years, if you had even with the 3% increase, the next lowest bid is Meridian Waste, so that would be $15.41 routinely for 3 years. So if you add it up for 36 months, or I guess that's the 3-year contract.
But if they're 1541, it is able to be increased to well, but there's no formal process in that.
But as it stands, if we charge the $15.41 for 3 years, however much that would be per person, average with a 15 rate from Waste Management this year, the potential increase, attorney, am I making sense?
No, but I think I know
I'm
what you're trying to say.
figure out if we
I
get
know
to
what
the
you're saying.
average of all 3 of the years.
Right, and if you do that,
Would Waste Management still be,
Lower.
would Waste Management come in lower at that point if you look at it on a potential 3-year scale of the average with the increase
And the way-
versus Meridian's 1541?
the way I would explain that is, assuming a 3% increase, that would be 1543 during year 2 of the contract. Assume another 3-year increase, and you have whatever that number is, and you end up with an average of 1543, which is higher than 1541.
I didn't know
But-
if 1543 was your ultimate 3%, that was, I guess, my question.
That is correct. because it was based on assumptions. I can't tell you what the exact numbers are, and, here, Mr. Mitchell, Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, sir.
Was explaining, you know, Waste Management's position on that. When he gets through, I would like to speak as to paragraph 11. But that's neither here nor there. I'll do a little bit.
I think we got some other,
So your,
another company that wants to talk.
so your increase comes from, you said.
The Department of Labor.
Department of Labor. So if there's no increase within the Department of Labor, then
There's no increase.
you're not gonna see an increase.
But it's a third party, it's our government that's doing it. This is doing the calculation, not us, do a creative accounting. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Before the company speaks, can I just speak to paragraph 11 to make sure that we don't jump over things we shouldn't jump over. Paragraph 11 is more of a, it's similar to the force majeure clause, that is to say, things that are out of control. Granted, inflation is out of somebody's control, but there is a category of things listed, although it's not limited to them. Would be things such as change of environmental laws, causing a change in tipping fees. Ordinances and rules and regulations that change costs. I mean, those kind of things that are not within the company's control are things that could allow them to raise rates under the contract. And that's why that clause is in there, is because you don't know what EPA regulations are gonna come out. You don't know whether or not, God forbid, the Salem landfill shut down, and next thing you know, they gotta take things to LaGrange, which is extra 20 miles, you know, so you don't want to pin them down so difficult in that situation that they can't recruit those extra costs. That's what paragraph 11 is meant to address.
Well, is there any reason one of these other companies can't come back and raise their rate, do the same thing? Are they prohibited from going beyond that 1541 or 1940? Do they not have some latitude?
Only that paragraph 11, not on a CPI, which is Consumer Price Index. In this particular instance, the index that he's referring to was a Consumer Price Index for water, sewer, and trash. I didn't know there was a subcategory of the CPI until I read that. But that's, you know, we've all heard CPI, you've heard the inflation numbers the federal government puts out.
Right.
CPI is a form of inflation measure. And this is a subcategory of that form of inflation measure. So it's a difficult decision for this council to decide which one of these is the low bid and whether or not it conforms. But that's your decision, not mine.
So you're saying paragraph 11, how does paragraph 11 differ from what you're saying was mentioned? Or are they essentially saying the same thing?
For two things. One, it was put in a different place, so obviously it's a different type thing. But let me find paragraph 11 exactly in our bid, and just give me a second. I think everybody put them in there. What the proposal says, the company shall be entitled to increase in rates to offset any change in conditions which increases the company's cost, included but not limited to, and it gives a set of factors. Disposal costs, increase in landfill fees, changes in ordinance under the company to operate, changes in federal, state, and local laws, rules, or regulations, transportation or fuel surcharges. And then, again, the example that I gave you on longer distance in case of landfill that they normally haul to. So there's a category of things that are addressed. CPI was not one of the things listed, although it was not specifically excluded as well. So the argument has some merit, but from a legal point of view, I would argue that that's a different type measure, what he's referred to. But again, it's this council's decision over what the low bid is.
So what you're saying is technically, according to paragraph 11, the other companies could potentially have a rate increase, but it would be limited to what statutorily was.
Oh, what's in the
provided.
agreement, yes, ma'am.
So can we allow the other companies to come?
I think Mayor said he was going to line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to make sure I addressed that before.
Oh, no problem.
Do we have some you want to hear from Meridian Waste? Meridian Waste?
So we don't have, nobody else want to speak?
Thank y'all. I'm with Tyler Aaron, the owner of 121 Disposal, just right on the street here from y'all. Been servicing this county for a long time in different ways. One, I appreciate the opportunity to bid, this opportunity for the city of Lafayette. You know, one thing that I did want to ask about clarifying, is around, there's a couple different metrics there, from the bulk waste pickups to the actual MSW, residential pickup, which you currently have. I think the city might be supporting some of the bulk pickups now. Our bid that we broke out, we did take into a number of different assumptions to actually do once a week bulk pickup. Then to also do the once a week, residential services there. I would be more inclined right now, knowing with how we bid this process, to, if there was an opportunity to rebid, breaking out accordingly, so we have full clarity of understanding of which each services are actually gonna be graded on, how they're gonna be graded, what's gonna be required to make sure that all parties are, what the pricing they've listed does include all services. That's why we broke our pricing out, so you can see the difference there, but that takes an assumption of all services. So, again, we just appreciate the opportunity. We would, we'd be honored to service the city had chosen. But if the opportunity was to go for rebid with a little bit more definition, even around CPI indexes and increases, anything like that, we would welcome it. I can tell you from our experience right now, we do a lot of the county, a lot of the cities around this community here. We have an increase rate in 3 years. Yes, inflation's going up. The way we look at it right now is that, every dollar that increases hits that residential home directly. So when we price out a bid, we look to lock our pricing in so that, it's sustainable, that it lasts, but two, it protects the residents. At the end of the day, we work for the residents there. We got a job to do. Our job is to make sure that it's out of your mind. That happens every day like it's supposed to, on time, on point, on service, which we do. We back up with our service ratings. I would just, ask if it was open or if the council would take a reconsideration to enhance the bid a little bit more, to break it down, to make sure all the services are covered by all parties. I would ask that opportunity to be looked at. So, but again, I can't thank you guys enough for what the county's done, the city's done for our company, and just the opportunity to be here today. So, thank y'all.
Oh, so another hand was up, and you like,
We brought the whole team.
good.
So at this point, y'all can do one of three things. Y'all can essentially decide to do anything, so maybe have a work session or a committee meeting or something to discuss the proposal, to make sure you get as much information as you want before you make a final decision. You could, and then that would essentially be table this matter until the next meeting, which we're getting pretty close to, when we need to have a pickup done. You could make a decision about who the low bidder is today, using the analysis that we've discussed. Or you could, essentially say that, let's just rebid the entire thing and give every company a chance to bid on the same parameters.
How did we get to this point though, and not have these parameters in place? How did 121 come up with one set of ideas of what we wanted, and then Waste Management come up with, how did we get there?
Well, there was a single bid amount, and 121, they broke it out because the way the bid documents read is that if it was bagged bulk waste, it was to be picked up And that was addressed in theirs as well, and they said, we're not gonna pick up bulk waste. I mean, that was in the exceptions. And then that would be bagged bulk waste, and that was the definition used in there. So the other one, I forget what the other exception was or the thing that broke out, extra bags. Oftentimes you'll see people with extra bag on top of it. That's a big issue as well. And then there's one other issue that really hasn't been discussed tonight, and that's backdoor services. So what happens is often you put out bids and you find out from the potential contractors that there's some things that you did not address adequately in the bid. And I think these bid specs were drafted about 10 years ago, and I think is where we got them from. Things change. And, now there's not two people on the truck anymore. I mean, things have just changed. So if the council think it would make sense, then we can rewrite the specs to get a little more detail, let it be rebid, see what happens then. Or we can go along and try and choose the lowest bidder on a 3-year contract.
I guess what I'm asking is, it seems like we're wasting a lot of money and a lot of time. How do we not do this? How do we get it right the first time, that we're not tabling it, put it on the black burner, or get to where we are up against the timeline? How do we stop that? Because that's a waste of money. I mean, I keep getting handed back these raises, I gotta go with some money somewhere. So, I'm looking at your head. But I'm just saying, how do we stop that seriously? How do we get it right the first time? Because I know it's work on them trying to do a bid for us, and so if there's a way for us to do it better, I mean, I'm just saying, what could we do better on our end?
Well, part of the problem of being a small town, everybody here is volunteer part-time on the council, mayor and council. And if I remember right, there has not been an increase of council pay until recently, the entire time I've been city attorney, which is right at 20 years. I think there was one made right before I came on. So, you're looking at people with 40-hour jobs trying to manage the city. So the key is to get a set of parameters established so you don't get that way. And that's the whole, for lack of a better term, superintendents and say, this is what's expected. We need to make sure these things come up.
So if we were to rebid, what is our timeline? Like, what are we running up against? Like 30 days?
We would be looking at maybe letting the contract within 30 days before it's to start. And that may or may not cause mobilization problems, so you may or may not get as many bids.
You've got a hand up, I think.
Could I make one comment on that?
You're more than welcome to, made it up.
So, one thing I was gonna say about rebidding, because you do get time constraints, but if you look at it, all three of the, current lowest bidders that have submitted bids at this point, one's the incumbent, two is through the current county, we're right down the street. If the thing's awarded before February 15th, I mean, we're in place. And so even if the decision's made by the end of January, given a month's timeline, you're gonna have no constraints, no problems with any of the current bidders, being in place at that deadline. So I just take that fear out of there. So if you do rebid, the opportunity's granted, there's time to be had. So it only takes us a few days.
Do you all do the back door?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it extra?
It depends. I mean, it depends on how it's written in the scope of the bid. Some bids want it broke out separate to charge individually to the resident. Some people want to put it to the bid based on X number of, participants. So that's just getting clarification, but it can be however you like.
Free.
Close. And we'll get as close as possible, but.
And the way you do that, you address it in the prospectus when you request the bid, you say, we currently have this many customers, and we want it factored in for across the entire bid.
And to echo what, Mr. Tucker's saying, we see these bids all the time. You get a lot of bids that have been in the same place for 10 years. It's, a lot of people don't know, like, who's doing it or how they're putting it out there, or things have really changed in the waste industry the last 10 years. And it's just taken the next level. We'd be more than happy, I'm sure Waste Management would happy to, provide different types of bids, within a day's time, just to let y'all look at them, give options out there to use a template. But we see it a lot to where certain cities or counties are, or smaller, rural areas, they don't have this big, long, extensive bid outlining every single piece of the thing. And so that's the only thing for us, having an opportunity to bid, it just brings clarification and clarity to make sure everybody's getting the best bid, so y'all can make the best choice possible.
And then I know West Management, the back.
Attorney, based on your legal experience, what do you recommend?
I personally think we're between a rock and a hard place, and I would think that rebidding would be wise.
That's up to you, Mr. Chair.
I'm probably most specific if we bid it. Come to my city attorney. And also, we based on what I heard tonight, so we bid. Any discussion on that? Now we ask our clerk for a roll call.
Councilwoman Milford,
Yes.
Councilman Langford,
Yes.
Councilman Thomas,
Yes.
Councilwoman Stewart,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor by saying aye.